Hi guys, welcome back. And in this video, we're going to be learning about CSS selectors. CSS selectors are basically what we can use to target the HTML elements we want to style. So let's see an example of how it works. Element selector is selecting the HTML elements by using the tag name. So I have a div right here, and inside the div I have hello world. Now I want to target hello world. So how do I target hello world? I would simply just use the name of the tag, which is div, and then I'll give it any styling, maybe a background color, a text align, or anything at all. Say I want blue for the color, and I want a text align or maybe center. So this is basically element selector. A simple to understand it more easily. It's just styling using the tag name, styling your HTML elements using the tag name it contains. So if this was a paragraph, say this was P, well, this would change to P right here. So I'm targeting hello world by using element selector, which means using the tag name. Same way, if this was H1, then this becomes H1. If this was H6, that becomes H6. If this was header or any tag name at all. So by using element selector, we are basically styling our HTML elements by the tag name. So by the time we check this in our browser, we're going to have hello world have a color of blue and a text alignment of center. Okay, I did not change it. Okay, so I think we settled for key. Then we can see that we have hello world and background color of blue. So this is basically what element selector entails. Alright, so we also have universal selector. Now universal selector selects all elements in your HTML document. So I'm just going to remove this and use a universal selector. So this is a symbol for universal selector. It's just an asterisk. So I want a color of purple for all the elements, and I want it to align to the center. Now I could add something else. Let's say header.
You're welcome to
That. Now, every element right here, the div, the paragraph, the H4, and the header, this should be header, not head. And the header would have a color of purple, and they will all be aligned to the center. So we have it like this. So that is universal selector. Now let's talk about ID selectors. Our ID selectors is a unique name for a single element. ID selector, the IG attributes, it's an attribute. It's a unique name for a single element. So I'm just going to use this example. Say I have a div. Now I want the div to serve as a container for other elements. So say I have a paragraph that says item 1 and item 2 and item 3 and maybe just 3 items. All right, now I could style this paragraphs using a div and all the child elements inside the div would take the styling. So I could say background color red. Now the paragraphs are also going to have the same background color of red. It's going to apply to everything. Or I could also say that I could style it using paragraph instead of div. We're going to achieve almost the same thing, except that it styled it individually. But what if I want a different styling for a particular paragraph? Maybe I want a unique styling for item 2, or I want a unique styling for item 3. Now, this could go back to div, and that would bring us to ID attributes. So I'll add an attribute here. Let's say this is item 2, ID item 2. So I want ID item 2 to have another styling. Maybe not a background color of red, maybe another background color or a different font size, or I just want it to be unique. I want it to be different. Now, to call an ID, we use an hashtag to call an ID. We use an hashtag to call an ID. So we'll say ID item 2. I will put our curly braces and just give it the styling we want to give. Let's say we want it to have a font size of 20 pixels. We want it to align to a center. We want it to have its own background color, maybe blue. And yeah, that's all. So this is where ID comes in. ID is used for a single element. Now, if we check it, we'll see that item 2 is unique from the rest of the elements. Item 2 has a font size of 20 pixels, has a background color of blue, and has a text alignment of center. So ID is used to select a different element, a unique element. It's used to give a single element a unique name. Okay, so that's it for ID selectors. Now let's talk about class selectors. The main difference between ID and class selector is that class selector is used to group multiple elements. So I can group multiple elements and style them together. But unlike ID selectors, I can only use it mostly for a single element. So I could say, I could add a class attribute and I'll give this class container. And inside my container, I want to have different elements. Let's say this is welcome. And this is an H3 that says to, and maybe an H2 that says class. So we have welcome to class using a paragraph, H3 and H2. Now, I want to group these elements. I want to style these elements at the same time. The paragraph, the H3 and the H2. That is, we're going to use class. So to call a class, you use a dot symbol. So let's give all these elements a background color of maybe blue, text, let's say font, width, be bold, or we could do bolder, and maybe text align right. So by doing this, this is going to apply to all the elements inside my container, which is welcome to class. So we are going to have this. We're going to have, okay, let me just move them to the center. It's more like we can't almost see it. Okay, so now we can see that we have the text at the center. Now that is class selector. The ID selector is used for a single element, and the class attributes is used for multiple elements. So instead of having to call a paragraph separately and say background color blue, font width bolder, text align center, and then call H3 and do the same thing, and then call H2 and do the same thing, that's going to take lots of time. So we're just going to group them using class selector. Okay, so that's it for class selector. Now let's talk about group selector. Now group selector is quite different from the rest of this. So quickly, let's have a table. Let's say we have CR and CH. Let's just have names. Let's have age and let's use gender and say nationality. All right, so then for a CR, going to have a TD and let's use John Doe. And gender, I mean John Doe is a male, and nationality, I don't know. I'll just use Nigeria. Okay, so we have a table. Now I want to use a table to explain group selector. So I'm just going to remove this. All right, now normally when we're exploring our HTML, if we were to add a border to our table, we would simply add it like this as an inline attribute. But in this case, we're using a group selector to add a table to add a border to our table. So we just do table, comma. We want to add a border to the table. We want to add a border to the TH and also to the TD we have. So we just grouped these tags. Now we can now put the border 3 pixels solid green. I'm going to explain this line of code much later. So we just give the table a border, and once we open it in browser, we're going to have it like this. Now, if we're doing it using HTML or the other method, we'd have to add the border and some other things. But instead of going like this, table, and then write border 3 pixels. Okay, what if I want more styling? If I want a width of 70%, and so if I am not using a group selector, that would make me add the same styling to table and then call again CH, the same styling, and CD, the same styling. That is just a waste of time. So group selectors allows you to group one or more elements to get one or more tags together and give it the same styling. So that's it for group selector. All right, so let's talk about attribute selectors. Attribute selectors select elements with a specific attributes or values. I'm going to use a form to explain how it works. So let's have a form with 2 input type. Let's say we want first name and a last name. So we have input type text, and let's just have a name here, first name. And let's have another label for our last name. and a input type text. Lastly, okay, so I'll just have another one, say phone number. So this is going to be input type number instead of input type text. Number. Okay, so now this could be, we could use all the input types, all 4 input types. We could include input type checkbox, input type radio, input type, we could use select, we could use submit, we could use all the input types. But we want to give input type text a styling. And we want the styling to be applicable to only input type text. We don't want it to be applicable to input type phone number or input type checkbox or input type radio. The same, you have those input types. So that's where attribute selector comes in. So we have inputs right here, and then we use our normal brackets, input type equals, double quotes, and text. So let's say we want input type text to have a width of 60%, and we want a padding of 20 pixels, and let's say a border radius of, say, 8 pixels. Now, this styling would only apply to input type text, which is first name and last name. Input type phone number will not have this styling. Let's check it out. All right, so we can see, well, this looks really, really ugly, but it's just for explanation. So we can see that if the type text, if it's the first name and the last name has the styling. We have a border radius, we have a padding, and we have a width of 60%, but the phone numbers still look the same. So this is how the attribute selector works. You can use it to point to a specific attribute or a value. In this case, the attribute we pointed at is text, the text attribute, which we included right here. Okay, so that's it for attribute selector. All right, let's talk about descendant selector. Descendant selector selects the descendants of a specified ancestor. So say we have a div, and the div has 5 descendants, which are the paragraph. So let's say I have paragraph 1. I have paragraph 105. So I'll just copy and paste this instead of having to write it. So I have paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I want to style all the descendants. I want to style the descendants of the ancestor, which is the div. So we put the name of the ancestor and the name of the descendants. The name of the ancestor, then space, plus the name of the descendants. So let's just give this a background color of cyan, a color of maybe red, and a font size of 30 pixels. Now, we have selected the descendants using the ancestor name plus the name of the descendant. So this is descendant selector. So once we open this in browser, we're going to see the paragraph having the background color of cyan and a text color of red. So that is it for descendant selector. Okay, so let's talk about child selector. Child selector selects the direct children of a specified parent. So I'm going to use a list to explain that. So let's have our UL and li list 1 and list 2 and list 3. Okay, and let's have maybe, okay, let's have OL and let's have the same lists. All right, so I want to style the children of UL. Now the UL in this case is a parent and the LI are the children. So I will use child selector, which is UL, the parent's name, and the greater that sign, LI. So we could say we want the list style type. Now the list style type, the default is disk. So let's say we want a circle, and we want the list to have a color as well. We want, say, blue. Now I could write LI, but the issue is that what if I want different styling for the LI for OL and the LI for UL? Now by doing this styling is going to apply to both the LI for UL and the LI for OL. So that is why I'm using the parent's name to style it. So by doing this, we are going to have only the LI for UL having a lister type of circle and a color of blue. All right, so we can see that we have just this. We could do the same thing for OL if we want a different styling for OL. Now this is all about child selector. Child selector is used to style a specific or a specified, is used to style the children of a specified parent. Okay, so let's talk about adjacent sibling selector. Adjacent sibling selector selects an element that is the immediate sibling of a specified element. Let's see an example. I have header and 3H3. So this one would be header 1, header 2, and header 3. And just after that, I'll put another H3, maybe 2 H3s, and this will be header 4 and header 5. So the symbol for adjacent sibling selector is the addition sign. So I'm going to give this a background color of purple and a color of white, and maybe text align center. Now, this styling is only going to apply to header 4 because header 4 is the immediate sibling of header. Let's see how it turns out. So header 4 would have the styling that we just applied. So you can see that header 4 only has the styling because header 4 happens to be the immediate sibling of header. So this is all about adjacent sibling selector. All right, so to general sibling selector. General sibling selector selects all the siblings of a specified element. So in this case, if I have, okay, let's just add another H3. Say this is header 6. And the symbol for general sibling selector is this. Now, either 4, 5, and 6 are going to have this styling because they are the general sibling of header. Let's see that. So either 4, 5, 6 has the styling. You can add as many sibling as you want. It is going to still take this styling. So that's all about descendant selector, child selector, adjacent sibling selector, and general sibling selectors. Okay, still talking about selectors, we're going to see an example of a pseudo class selector. Pseudo class selector sets the special state of an element. So let's use the anchor tag for example. So let's say we have home, and let's just have few more others. So contact and maybe register. Now the pseudo class, the symbol for pseudo class is simply single colon. And one of the feature of pseudo class selector is over. Now what this will do is, it is only when we over on the anchor tag before we're going to see the special state. So let's say we want a background color of blue when we over on it, and we want a color of white when we over on it. Let's just give some styling to the anchor tag. So let's say we give it a padding of 20 pixels, a background color of black. We give it a color of, okay, let's just leave the color. Let's give it another background color. Let's say cyan, and a color of, a text color of black. And okay, I think that's it. So we've given the anchor tag this styling. Now this is only the styling we'll see once we open it in browser. But the moment we hover around the anchor tag, the moment we move our mouse around it, we're going to have this styling. So let's see what it looks like. But you can see our anchor tag with the background color, the text, the padding, and everything. But it is until I pull my mouse on the anchor tag before I would see the special state. So we can see that we have the background color changes to blue, the text color changes to white, and all that. So this is how pseudo classes works. Now we're going to explore more on pseudo classes as we progress. Maybe when we want to do a project, or we're going to explore more on pseudo classes. So this is an example of a pseudo class. It sets the special states for an element. All right, we're rounding up on selectors. Now let's talk about pseudo elements. Pseudo elements selector is used to style a specific part of an element. So I have a paragraph here that says coding is fun, and I'll just give this a class of baby style. Now pseudo elements is denoted by double colon, unlike pseudo classes. Pseudo elements are denoted by single colon, double colon. So we are going to say we want to style the first line of coding is font, or let's say first letter, since we don't have a lot of text. So first letter, we want the C to be really bold. So we're going to use font width, bolder. We want it to have a color of red. We want to increase the font size to say 40 pixels. And yeah, I think that's all. So by doing this, we're going to have C looking really different from the rest of the text, like this. So we have other examples of pseudo elements. We have first line, first letter, and more of it. As we progress in this tutorial, we're going to explore more of it. So this is all about CSS selectors. Do not forget, selectors are what points us to the HTML elements we want to style. I hope yours turned out good, and thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.